Whew. Sorry about that. Now, in 1995, Squaresoft released a game which, up until the late 90s answer that Twilight came out, had probably the largest cult following of any piece of electronic entertainment in history. Now, I'm talking, of course, about Chrono Trigger.
What can I say about this game that hasn't already been said? The gameplay is dynamic, the production values are through the roof, but most importantly, the characterization is stellar. Everybody in this game has their own unique voice. You know that no two characters are ever going to react the same way in a situation, and, through their words and deeds, even the little guys find a way to endear themselves to us.
Hope you enjoyed that. It's now stuck in your head for the rest of your life.
There's this one line of dialogue that's always stuck with me. When you first travel into the past to rescue Marle, you find that she's made a special request to the palace chef.
Wait, maybe you'd know. What's this ice cream stuff that Queen Lene wants so badly?
Oh, homonyms. Will you ever fail to entertain us?
But seriously, how much would it suck to be trapped in the past, have an ice cream craving, but nobody knows how to make it, including yourself, so you can't even pass the knowledge on?
Well, I'm not going to let that happen. Today, I'm going to teach you how to make ice cream. Now, all you'll need is a refrigerator, an ice cream maker, and,
Oh yeah, they didn't have wall sockets back then.
That's a real pickle. Tell you what, change of plans. To guard against all time travel eventualities, today I'm going to teach you how to make ice cream without electricity.
For this recipe, you'll need the following: half a cup of sugar, honey, or some type of syrup, half a cup of salt, a cup and a third of a fruit of your choosing, 2 cups of heavy cream, 5 to 6 cups of ice, and 3 freezer bags. If you're trapped in the past and don't have access to freezer bags, I imagine a wineskin or a bladder of some kind would work equally well. Pour the fruit out into a large bowl, and then mash it up into a paste. In a separate bowl, add the cream and the sugar, then mix the two together. Keep in mind, if you're using honey or syrup instead of sugar, this step could take a few minutes. Next, pour in the fruit you mashed up earlier and mix all three together until it's nice and combined. Take one of the freezer bags and pour in approximately half of the mixture. When sealing the bag, pat down gently on it to try and remove as much air as you possibly can. Take a second freezer bag and slide the one you just filled inside of it. Again, when you seal it, pat down to make sure you get as much air out of it as possible. Strictly speaking, this step isn't necessary, but it's a good insurance policy should the inner bag leak. For the third freezer bag, start filling it with ice cubes until it's about a third of the way full. Add half the salt and then shake the bag to distribute it evenly.
Now this step is crucial. If you don't add the salt to the ice, the technique I'm showing you will not work.
Place the ice cream inside of the freezer bag and start packing ice around it until it's about 3/4 of the way full. Pour in the rest of the salt, give the bag a bit of a shake, and then seal it, cutting out as much air as you can in the process. Place the freezer bag in a wide, shallow pan. You don't have to, but it'll stop salt water from getting all over your countertop. Place a towel over top of the ice and start kneading. You don't have to knead very hard. All you're trying to do is break up ice crystals, but you do have to be consistent. Knead for about 10 minutes or so. Every once in a while, flip the bag over and knead from a different angle. Also, push the ice cubes around so that no part of the cream isn't touching some of the ice. Once your 10 minutes are up, let the bag sit undisturbed for 5 more minutes. Dig out the innermost bag and voila! Instant soft serve ice cream. Now I like my ice cream soft, so I only let it sit in the ice for about 5 minutes. If you like it harder though, just let it sit in there until it reaches the consistency you want.
All that's left to do is add a little bit of extra ice and salt to the bag, and then do the same thing for the rest of the ice cream mixture. That doesn't usually happen. Now, this right here is a pretty good basic ice cream. However, if the civilization you're trapped in happens to have advanced trade routes, there's another step you can take that'll result in a much richer confection.
Now this step requires 4 additional ingredients: 3 eggs, a cup of milk, a vanilla bean, and 2/3 of a cup more of whatever type of fruit you're using. Separate the egg yolks and then split the vanilla bean in half. Turn your knife around and run the blunt edge along the inside of the bean to scrape out the seeds. Now, for this next part, you're going to need a double boiler. If you don't have a double boiler, you can get the same effect by filling a large pot about 1/4 of the way full of water and then fitting a slightly smaller pot in on top of it. Now keep in mind that the amount of water you put in really depends on the difference in size between the two pots. A good rule of thumb: don't fill it up with so much water that it starts running up the gap in between the two. Crank the element dial up to maximum, and once the water's boiling, add in the milk, eggs, sugar, and vanilla, both beans and pod. Mix it all together and let it cook for 15 to 20 minutes. Be sure to stir it frequently, at the very least once a minute. Once it's finished cooking, remove the vanilla pods. Take the pot off the heat and let it cool down to room temperature. Now what you've created here is actually a type of light custard, and it's a pretty good dessert by itself. But what we're going to do is add in the heavy cream and the crushed berries, then stir it all together to make a new ice cream mixture.
From there on in, it's exactly the same as before. Pour the ice cream mixture into an inner bag, surround that inner bag with a layer of ice and salt, and start kneading. What the? Moving on.
What's really great about this recipe is that you can be as creative as you want. Like, look at this. I start the custard out as usual, but then I add a 1/2 cup of honey instead of a 1/2 cup of sugar, a tablespoon of vanilla extract instead of a vanilla bean, and then a full cup of dark chocolate. I mix it all together and I end up with a really rich chocolate ice cream base. Or how about this one? I add a 1/2 cup of lime juice and no vanilla flavoring, a few drops of green food coloring, and then, when the custard's cooled down, I stir in chopped raspberries instead of whole ones. What I end up with is a really vibrant base for a lime and raspberry ice cream. If you find that your ice cream is coming out too soft and runny and you can't seem to get it to freeze, there's a good chance that you didn't put enough salt on the ice, or that you have too much ice cream mixture in the inner bag. Tweak the amounts of both, and you should be able to get a solid substance.
Now with a little bit of practice and a lot of experimentation, you could have your own pre-industrial Baskin-Robbins in no time.